at the beginning of sessions. I'd like to request all of you to put your phones on the silent mode. Let us all sit comfortably and prepare for the next couple of hours, 1.5 to 2 hours. Let us connect with our hearts and with each other. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Slow inhale and a slower exhale. Bring your attention to your heart. Feel the energy there. Go deep into it. Connect with your heart. Now connect with the hearts of all the others in the session. Feel the energy of this large combined heart or this group heart of ours. Connect with the hearts of the others. Not yet in the session, all the others involved with this program. Connect with the hearts of your near and dear ones. Your colleagues, all your students, all the other staff in the institutions where you work. Now make the suggestion that the purpose for which you are attending this session is achieved for you and for all those coming in contact with you directly or indirectly. Today and all your lives. May the purpose of this session be achieved for each of us, for all of us, and for all those connected with us directly or indirectly, all our lives. With the gratitude, the joy, the love, and hope filling our hearts. Let us now come back to the session. I'd like some feedback. Are you able to see my PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So this was the topic given to me. And I would like to say at the outset that this will not be a very exhaustive session. We will not go into the depths of any of the topics that we will be covering. It will be more or less a conceptual, giving the concepts and overview of various issues. So this is the flow of my session today. We shall have a look at the neuroscience of stress. You've had some very interesting and very well presented sessions on various aspects of stress. So we'll have a look at some of the basic concepts of the neuroscience of stress. Then a little bit of updation, just getting updated with, the changing paradigms in our understanding, the recent research that has been coming out, and there are some health crisis situations globally, and how those affect the topic that we are discussing. And we shall have a slightly more detailed look at adolescent neurobiology and also early childhood neurobiology and how that is related to stress in adults, because that's very important. And that forms the foundation of our latest understanding of stress in adults also. And since diet was given as a topic, let us also have a short introduction to conscious eating. So Mr. Seshadri covered this topic, covered diet earlier this morning. So we'll have a quick recap of conscious eating. And then we shall have an introduction to one of the very, very important techniques of heartfulness, one of the backbones of heartfulness as far as tools and techniques go, and that is detoxification, or also referred to as rejuvenation. And after that, we'll have an experiential session about it, and then an introspection and self-observation. Experiment, observe, and record. And we'll have an interactive session after that. Feel free to ask me questions in between also if you think it's important. Feel free to use the chat box. And I would like to repeat once again that 70 to 80% or even more of what we are discussing today is basic, elementary, more conceptual in nature, and something that we as, faculty members or even students, we are the privileged members of society and we have to pass this on. So please also listen, understand, and feel free to ask any questions that you might have towards the end of the session, because the purpose is to pass on everything that you're learning or that you're experiencing, to share your learnings. So let us have a quick look at our nervous system. So some of you are doctors. You might find this very elementary. The others, we have a lot of, people from engineering background, I heard. So I shall keep it elementary. Our nervous system functions at 3 levels. And this is, true evolution. It's called phylogeny and ontogeny. So ontogeny is the development, the growth and development of the individual that happens during the intrauterine life. So we'll be having a quick peek at that later on. Phylogeny is the evolution of the human species, human race over the millennia. So our nervous system is hierarchically placed in 3 levels. The reptilian level is involved with basic vegetative existence. When you have a person who's got a clot in his brain and then he's just lying in a coma, that is the reptilian brain that is functioning. The rest of it is not functioning. So the individual is alive, he's surviving. It is the basic survival of the individual. The mammalian brain, or the one where the limbic system has developed very well, and that is the higher order of functioning at that level of evolution. So there, that would be, here it goes a little more refined or complexity into survival of the individual. It is also survival of the species. So survival of the species means reproduction. So everything that has to do with, mating behaviors. So survival of the individual taken to a higher level, perceiving stress, perceiving threats to existence, whatever those factors, being able to perceive threats to your life and limb and the results, the actions that you want to analyze that any organism takes. So fight, flight, and freeze mechanisms that you've heard about. That, and also mating behavior, selection of a mate, reproduction, nurturing the young, all these at a basic level are part of our functions of the limbic system. Now, the higher functions which characterize the human being, these are the neocortical level. So we have the brain stem, we have the pons, this is the, we have the medulla, then we have the pons over here, all this is the cerebellum, the midbrain over here, the thalamus, hypothalamus, the entire diencephalon, this is called. And this is the cerebrum. All this is the cerebrum. Now, within each of these parts are parts that are really old, archae. They are the archaic parts. Then you have the paleontological parts, the later in evolution, in this order. And then you have the latest parts, the neo parts. So though we have the cerebrum, there are parts that are really old. Deep inside, the more superficial parts are recent in origin and are related to a complexity of functioning. So the cerebral cortex is associated with the higher functioning. Now, and what is this higher functioning that characterizes the human being? It is, abstract thought, social behavior, insight into things, analysis, regulation of emotions, higher regulation, conscious control of some of the basic bodily responses. If you have a well-developed neocortex, you can control, your limbic brain and the reptilian brain to some extent with practice and training. That is what the yogis do. See, they control their respiration, they control their digestion, they do all that. Those are very high level of cortical controls of the lower levels of the nervous system. Now, the highest function which characterizes human beings is something that is called meta-attention. That is, thinking about thinking. You are aware. While I'm talking with you, I am also, there is a part of me that is aware that I'm talking with you. While you are listening to me, there is a part that is conscious and aware of other things that are happening of your inner self and the activities, the fact that you're observing all this and listening to all this. That is meta attention, which is a very special feature of human beings, the highest evolved function. And that is related to human consciousness. And that is also related to the latest or, the most specialized regions of the cortex. So the other areas are not shown here. It's called the prefrontal cortex. Then you have the parietal cortex. This is the parietal part. You have parts in that. Then you have parts of deeper structures called the cingulate gyrus, the insular part, then the inferior orbital gyrus, and so on. Let's not get into technicalities, okay? Now the limbic system, we saw fight, flight, freeze, response, am I safe, and am I under threat, and the various emotions. Now, why are we studying all this? Not only is my life, involved, the lives of the generations that follow me are involved. So there is something called epigenetic effects. So now, what is epigenetic effects? All of us, we have been told to understand that the genes control our destiny. But over the past few years, so 2003, we had the human genome being mapped. But then they realized that they are not able to control anything. They realized that there are an umpteen number of factors over and above the genes that seem to regulate the genes. And anything over and above is referred to as being epi. Epi is on, above. So factors that regulate the functioning of the genes comprise what is referred to as epigenetics. Epigenetics is the study of factors that regulate the functioning of genes. Now, these factors could be anything and everything. So most essentially and directly relevant to us now are our lifestyle factors. Now, lifestyle also, constitutes habits and factors related to everything under the sun, including the sun itself. What you eat, drink, sleep, how and what and where and why of all our bodily functions, including our thoughts and our social interactions. So it is now an accepted fact that grandmaternal stress during pregnancy and DNA methylation of the third generation are related. So our ancient traditions had spoken about this. That is why, when they're looking for matches, 7 generations on either side, in the earlier days, they used to test. So that was one very basic elementary way of looking at the epigenetics of a prospective family relationship. So changes that occur within our body, within our cells, can be and are inherited for generations to follow. And these changes are initiated by our lifestyle. And our lifestyle constitutes everything, as we saw: food, drink, sleep, exercise, sleep, thoughts, social interactions. And another very important development in the field of health, which many of you are possibly aware, is the importance of the first 1,000 days of life. Now, what is this first 1,000 days of life? The first 1,000 days of life comprise the 270 days of pregnancy and the first 2 years of life. Together, they form the first 1,000 days. And a lot of research has proved that any interventions done during this period, health interventions done during this period, are very, very beneficial and affect the entire lifetime of the child that is born. So if you're talking about return of investment, instead of spending millions of dollars or rupees on healthcare modalities, if that, that amount were to be spent during the first 1,000 days, the returns, the benefits would be enormous, because this is a very precious window of opportunity that can change the entire life pattern of the individual, from the body, from the mind, to the emotional makeup of that individual, to the social relationships that person has, and their efficiency in life, and their propensity or their susceptibility to various disorders, diabetes, hypertension, cancers, everything, degenerative disorders. So this is the seed where you have to take action. So the first 1,000 days are characterized by rapid rates of neuronal proliferation. So cell numbers increase. There is a growth and differentiation of the cells, the neurons. Myelination occurs, and synaptogenesis is connectivity. So while all the nutrients are important for the brain development and function, it is very complex, and it is very site-specific, region-specific, period-specific, function-specific, connection-specific. So it depends on key nutrients during specific sensitive time periods. So different regions decide different periods of growth, different trajectories. Each region, now the same type of neurons in one part of the brain and in another part of the brain would have different trajectories of growth. So the processes, the connections that they establish, the functions that they exhibit later on that they are involved in, and the efficiency with which they perform that, and the way they manifest all this in adult life, all these are affected by the attention paid in the first 1,000 days. Now, what are the key components of the first 1,000 days? There are 3 N's. One is nutrition, one is neurostimulation, and one is environment. So how can we affect the nutrition, the neurostimulation, and the environment of the developing child, who we want not to manifest signs of stress, which is going to land him in disease? Excuse me about that. Yeah. So the womb is the environment, and we communicate with the child through the womb. Babies in the womb are alert, awake, attentive to a number of stimuli, including the moods of the mother, the stress factors of the parents. And at birth, the baby's brain, see, at 20 weeks, it is 1/3. At 35 weeks, it is 2/3, and of what it will be at birth. There's a lot of statistics. Let's not get into it. Now, this is the basic structure of the neuron. This is the cell body. This is the process, a number of processes. These are called the dendrites. This is the main process called the axon. And these are the axon terminals. Now, connections. So we have millions, trillions of neurons within our nervous system, and they communicate with each other in trillions and trillions of connections. At birth, a baby is a developing mass of neurons, increasing in number and increasing logarithmically in connections and complexity. So this is what a section of the brain of the newborn would be like growing at birth. Now, earlier when we were students, we were taught that the baby's brain grows, in the first year of life, a little bit of growth at around, until around 5 years, a little bit of growth during the adolescent period. But we now know that the brain continues to grow till 25 to 30 years of life. Yes, it does. And we can still, make it grow, and we can model our brain as we want. all through our life. That is the fantastic advantage or input that recent science has been giving us. Now, this is at 2 years. So this is up to the first 1,000 years of life. This is the pattern, and this is the adult. We'll come back to this later. See the complexity, the number of neurons have increased, the connections have increased, and there is an increased complexity of the connections. So physiology affects fetal physiology, a healthy body maintained by a good diet, light, nutritious food free of alcohol, tobacco, pesticides, other adulterants, good exercise, nature walks. You heard about all this in the morning, today, and earlier. So we'll just run through this. Keeping a healthy mind, the mother, the positive attitude, music, paintings, picture on walls, pictures, good harmonious relationships in the family members, especially the father. Now, this is something interesting that I would like you all to note. The baby's nervous system is developing very well. Why are we talking about it? If it is not given the adequate, the proper stimuli, if not given, or if the improper stimuli are given, the fetus undergoes stress. Stress in the fetus is an enormously predisposing factor to stress in the adults. So knowledge is power, and that is why all of us need to know this, that the fetus is also susceptible to stress because it is developing, it is sensitive to the sense of touch by 8 weeks. Pain by 12 weeks. A fetus at 12 weeks can taste, can smell at 15, can respond to sound, to the voice of the father, the mother, the family members. All the stories that we have through our traditions, they are all true. And modern science is proving that. Yes. So the 10 commandments of the first 1,000 days is, stimulate those in a positive way. So eat where all this, the tactile stimulation of loving touch of the mother enables the fetus to grow into a healthy, active, friendly child. So the proper auditory stimulation, visual stimulation, avoid the improper visual stimulation. The mother, it is very important that the mother avoid maternal stress. Some of the attendees might be young people. Some of them might already have finished with their childbearing, but we are all role models and leaders in societies, and we need to pass on this information that we have. So these are some of the references for that. Now we come to the second window of opportunity that we have, a smaller window, yet typical and very, very relevant to us as faculty members. The adolescent brain is also a work in progress, as is the entire adolescent himself or herself. And so there is a lot of plasticity. It means moldability. There is enormous vulnerability, just as we saw with the child, the early child. Is that noise from my side? Or someone's audio is open? Yes.
Okay, I think no audio is unmuted. Everything is muted.
Okay. Okay. Yes, the sound has stopped. It sounded as if someone was typing away. Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah. So there are 3 key areas or domains of the adolescent neuroscience. We are talking of adolescence because we are all dealing with, different stages of adolescence, or the stage after that is referred to as the young emerging adult. So since we are dealing with all of them, and since this is essential information, so there are bodily changes, there are neurobiological changes, and there is the psychosocial component. So all these three are very important, and the way they are handled by the adolescent himself or herself and his circumstances, including the people around him, they define what this adult is going to be like and how he or she is going to respond to his life circumstances. Now, the characteristics of the adolescent, there's rapid learning, just as a newborn has he is just devouring information. So also the adolescent, devouring information, learning, thinking, analyzing. So the brain is growing very rapidly, but it is a very selective kind of growth. We saw earlier different regions at different rates and different trajectories. There is a lot of structural remodeling and reconfiguration also that is going on. Some systems, some tracts are being strengthened and some are being removed or pruned. And we can modify those. So this is a precious opportunity to sculpt the neurobiology of the adolescent. And therefore, we have an opportunity to create an individual of our liking, a positive person. And most important role is for the individual himself or herself. So hormones and environmental factors, they drive this process. And when I say environment, everything around the person, internal and external. So what are these internal factors that determine the adolescent, that are characteristic? They start looking at the world around them with a new eye, very critically, with curiosity, with analysis, with introspection. What is my role in this situation? How is that going to affect me? Or how can I affect that? They are very idealistic. They are very sensitive at the point of thought and sensitive also at the level of ego, their image, self-image and identity, because they are developing a very independent identity for themselves. So this is an opportunity for us to help create healthy individuals, which will contribute towards global health. So yes, so now let us talk about this. So there is something called plasticity, that is the neurons are multiplying, neurogenesis is occurring, neurons are multiplying in number and they are malleable. You can determine how you want them to go. And there is another important process that is occurring in the adolescent, which is called pruning. So the neurons that are used, that are beneficial or that are reinforced are held on, those tracts deepen, they grow stronger and larger. And pruning, just as we prune our gardens, we grow flowering plants, then there are weeds, we remove the weeds, we also cut the plants regularly. So similar process occurs within our nervous system. A lot of pruning occurs, a lot of remodeling and reconfiguration also occurs. So these are the different areas. Now, this is just a typical example. The dorsal, this is called the executive functions. This is all this is the prefrontal cortex. So when you talk of stress, there'll be a lot of, the subject of stress. There's a lot about prefrontal cortex. It is divided into a number of areas. This is one of the very important areas. So see how, now this is a person 20 years old and it is still not fully developed. It is still not, note that it is still not fully developed. It develops, it reaches a certain level of maturity by 25 years of age and even at 30 years of age. So that is the point I wanted to bring out. So let us not judge our adolescents, our teenagers, our young people very harshly, because they are victims or subject to their biology. Their brains, their responses are different from ours. They do not have the capacity to regulate and control their responses, the limbic system, which perceives the threats to survival. which is active in terms of mating behavior, which has, they are biologically mature to reproduce, but they do not have the maturity of the higher centers for that. This is one of the strange and some often pitiable factors of the human condition, that childhood extends so long. No other creature has such a prolonged childhood up to 25 to 30 years. Yes. So, yes. So they are characterized by sensation seeking, motivation for social relations, social evaluation, all this. So we've seen this puberty initiates intense learning and brain development, remodeling and reconfiguration. So it is a very crucial time to invest in adolescence. So coming back to the 3 Ns, all this was to just give an idea of why the nutrition is important, neurostimulation is important, from the womb to the tomb, but very critically in the womb, just after getting out of the womb, and again in the adolescent period. So nutrition, the right amount of the right nature and amount of neurostimulation, and also the right nature and kind of environment. These determine the epigenetics, which determine the genes, which determine your predisposition to, disease, not just to disease, but to functioning, social relations. Everything is regulated, is affected by this. So since the topic, one of the topics is nutrition, and thought I would just discuss that part of it, conscious eating. So what is conscious eating? To be present in the moment. Being conscious means to be present in the moment, wherever we may be, whatever we may be doing. So when one refers to the mind, one realizes the need for eating right. What is important for this is mostly dealing with the infant, early childhood nutrition. So we realize the relationship between the nutrients and growth, between the connection between the gut and the brain. There is enormous research regarding the connections that are there between the gut and the brain, between the heart and the brain, and you will be learning more about that as you go along. And when refers to the heart, one realizes, when we eat with conscious awareness, we analyze, we eat the right kind of foods in the right quantities at the right time. And when we refer to the heart, we eat with the right attitude. We are aware of the blessing that has been conferred on us to be able to have food on our plates. We are grateful and we respect the food. We respect the sources, the people involved in the processing of the food, in the entire pathway from the seed to the plate, and even earlier and later. So when one refers to both the mind and the heart, one becomes grateful and develops humility and joy while eating. If the way the food is accepted or eaten is gross, the benefit that one gets is also lost and can be gross. Not just losing the benefit, it can actually harm. So the stress or arrogance or avariciousness in relation to food do not make it available for right metabolism, and worse, can conduce to disease. So the best nutritious meal, if eaten in a condition of stress, digestion is impaired and we can end up with disease. So eating in gratitude, joy, and remembrance of the giver, since we cannot thank the farmer, we cannot thank the cook, we cannot thank the person who stored all that, we put it all up to the ultimate. We thank the ultimate before we sit down to eat, and as we eat, and after we eat. And eating from honest and pious earnings adds to the purity and the beneficial effects of the food. Because the energies are carried. The energies of the farmer are there in the food. The energies of the person who sold are there in the food. The energies of the money that went into that. The energies that are accompanying the money that bought the food are there with the food. The person who cooked the meal, the attitude with which it was cooked, the attitude with which it was laid on the table, and the attitude with which it is being consumed. All these are uniquely important. And at every stage of life, most especially during these 2 windows of opportunity. So this is about these topics. Now, and yes, I have 2 PPTs to share. I put them as 2 separate PPTs. I didn't have time to blend them into one. Shall we have a break? Does anyone want to ask or say anything? We shall now go into the experiential session. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Madam?
Yes, yes. So,
can I ask some doubts, madam?
Yes, sure.
Madam, you are told that sensitivity to smell, taste, starts of 14 weeks of gestation. You got any proof for that, madam?
Just, shall I? Yes?
Can I repeat this question out of the session?
Yes,
or
please. Yes, please
you
repeat.
told them that perception of smell, taste, and this thing will be there. Is there any proof, madam?
Yes. Whatever I'm talking is scientific research. I can share in fact, I just put up the references, and I have a video that shows you all that, but since this is not the context to discuss that in detail, I didn't.
Okay, at the end of the
A lot
session.
of scientific research to show that it is accepted fact in pediatrics and obstetrics gynecology. Now, recent updates, yes.
So you tell that in the prenatal period, if you listen to a good music,
yes,
the child will be
yes,
for the music.
Yes.
Okay, I will discuss this at the end of the session.
Yes, there is a book by a famous musician who said that from childhood he could play a particular piece of music. He had an enormous fondness to that piece of music. And that was because later on, much later, people did research wondering, and then they found that his mother used to listen to that when he was a baby. Now, another example, what comes offhand, I share with you. There was a girl of a little girl who's actually of English origin, but she could not speak English as fluently as she was speaking French. She was speaking French very fluently, though she was in England and, the English was the language there. Though she wasn't exposed to so much French in her childhood. This was because when she was in the womb, all the people in her environment were speaking French. So there are lots of examples like that. It is accepted scientific data, and I shall be happy to share with you everything. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, madam. Please carry on.
Yes.
Sorry
I-
to interrupt you, madam. Sorry.
no, no, that's okay. That's okay. Mm. I'll just stop the share and I'll start again. Yes, so let us do what we did yesterday afternoon with Dr. Suresh Purini. I'd like all of you to maybe take a pen and paper or just observe your present condition. Just close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out again. One more. How are you feeling in your body? How is your breath flowing? Observe and note. Is it your left nostril? Is it your right nostril? Are you breathing from your chest or from your abdomen? Scan your system. Are there any aches and pains? In a detached way, note them down mentally. What are the emotions you are feeling at this moment? Are you feeling happy, anxious, worried, tense? Observe yourself at the mental level in a detached way. You are the observer. What are the thoughts going through your head? Is your mind flooded with thoughts or relaxed and no thoughts? Is there a restlessness in those thoughts? What is the type of the thought that is flowing through your mind? Now observe your inner self. Get to the core of your being. Are you able to connect with it? How do you feel about it? Are there any specific thoughts or experiences regarding the passage of time or your awareness. Any absorption, peace, etc. Make a mental note of your here and now. With your eyes closed, let us go a little deeper. About yourself. Imagine the best version of yourself. Note down the special aspects that you see about yourself in this version. How far do you feel you are from achieving this version final of yourself? Is there anything specific that you would like to get rid of to get there? Something about you now that is obstructing or hindering your moving forward towards that final version of yourself. Make a note of these specific aspects of yourself now, either factors of thinking or behavior, or habits. Have you made any efforts in the right direction? Shedding off these obstructions or obstructing factors, or strengthening the positive factors within you. Make a note of what steps you have taken and how far you have progressed in this direction. And how intensely you wish to move forward towards that best version of yourself. Gently open your eyes. So with what we have spoken over the past 1 hour, we know that because of various factors that go on within our system, especially our brains, our nervous system, which are higher centers of control, or regulate our bodies. And especially through the processes of plasticity and pruning, we can modify our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, and thus we can sculpt ourselves. This is the famous picture that all of you would have seen. A piece of rock, as one famous sculptor was asked, how are you able to produce such magnificent structures, statues? So he said, I have the picture in my mind, and all I have to do is chisel away the unwanted bits. So we have the picture of our version final of ourselves within us. All we have to do is chisel away the unwanted bits. And biology helps us. So, let us just have a look at, this. What is a thought? A thought is a flow of energy which sets up some neuronal connections. Repeated thoughts motivated by repeated desires or fears set up more and more connections, which form more and more complex connections. And if that thought is, weighed by the energy of our emotions, the affect component of thought that is referred to in psychology, in medicine. So the affect component of that thought or that memory weighs down that connection because it carries so much weight, so much of negative energy with that, which is related to the complexity, the intensity of the connections. Now, these connections by repeated thoughts, our brain is like a computer. This is a proven fact. When you click Google with something, the results that come out first are those that have been searched often. The same thing with our brain. Let any stimulus come, the most immediate response that comes, most immediate thought or our reaction that comes is what has been given often or what you have already done before, thought before or reacted to before. So patterns, the depths and intensities of those patterns determine how often they come, and they become stronger and stronger. It's like a vicious self-repeating, self-propagating cycle. And as we saw, this cycle is negative because most of our thoughts, most of our emotions are born out of fear and desire. What is stress? Stress is the gap between what you expect or what you want and what you have. You are still craving for that and you don't have that, and that sets up the chain reaction of neuronal connections, which gets weighted down with the energy of your emotions and repeated thoughts. So, and negative thoughts have something like the force of gravity attached to them, which drag you down more and more and which tend to repeat more often. To have a positive thought, you have to exert conscious, aware, will, the energy of conscious and aware thought for that. And let us see how to do that. So these connections, these impressions, the interactions, those series of network of synapses and tracts, that is what is referred to as impressions. So for example, you're passing by, you see a rose somewhere, you smell the rose, you're happy, you move on. The next day you look for the bush, you enjoy the fragrance, you linger around. The third day you hold the flower. The fourth day you want the flower, you pluck it. The fifth day you want to have the plant in your home. The sixth day you probably cut it and take it home and plant it and start spending more time and energy on that. So this is a very familiar sequence of thought processes that happens. Now, as we saw, our minds are cluttered with so many thoughts. And what are these thoughts related to? Fears, prejudice, desires, intense desire, anxieties, panic spells, guilt, shame, depression, despair, suicidal tendencies, hatred, jealousy, grief, acts of omission, acts of commission, so many, and so on and on and on. And then that is the way our mind is loaded. And we find it very difficult to come out of it. Now, this third technique is related to this. How do we clean all this out? So this is the biology of stress. You are all aware of that. Over the past 2 days, you've had enough discussion about that. So we have a very important biological axis, which starts with our thought, proceeds to our nervous system, and also acts through various chemical factors, the endocrines, and the rest of the biochemistry, and through our immunological axis. So the psycho-neuro-endocrino-immunological axis, which starts with thought and which affects the entire body. It affects our growth, it affects our repair, it affects our immunity, it affects our further thinking and actions and behavior. So that is the burden we are with. And what is cleaning? What do we clean? So we sow a thought, we reap an action, and with repeated actions, we reap a habit, we reap a character, we reap a destiny. And not only are we victims of our own impressions, we also become the cause for impressions in the lives of others. Not only are we pulling ourselves down, we are pulling others around us down. So what can we do about it? We can remove these from our system through this technique called cleaning or detoxification. So heartfulness cleaning is a mental, emotional detox and rejuvenation where slowly one by one, each day we do this procedure in the evening around sunset time, for a few minutes, from 20 to 30 minutes every day. It is very important that we set a fixed time and a fixed place, and we set down to do it because our intention, our thought sets up our biological clock, which over a period of time develops automatism there, and it begins to happen faster and faster, and the cleaning proceeds so rapidly that what used to take half an hour then takes just 5 minutes. So I'll quickly run you through this. We sit for cleaning as we sit for meditation, any comfortable position with our back erect. We sit with the intention. Intention is very important. The will to back the intention is very important. And as we practice, our willpower develops enormously, along with a lot of other perks that we get. So we sit with the intention to remove all the impressions that we have accumulated during the day. We close our eyes, feel relaxed, and then you are advised to imagine that all the complexities and impurities are leaving your entire system from the back, all the way from the top of your head, along the back of your head and down your back, up to the tip of the tailbone. Make the thought that they are leaving your system in the form of smoke, or even water vapor, whatever comes spontaneously to you. But we need to remain alert and focused during the entire process in a detached kind of way, like a witness, watching clouds passing in the sky. And after a few minutes, we use our willpower to accelerate this process. And then you feel the smoke leaving you faster and more intensively. And if your attention drifts, we are advised to bring it back to focus on the cleaning. And as the cleaning occurs, you begin to feel lighter and lighter in the region of your heart. When we say heart, we refer to much more than the physical organ, the physical pump that is there. We refer to the energy heart, which spreads throughout our chest and beyond. So we feel this lightness in the area of our chest, the area where we feel our emotions. So we begin to feel an inner lightness, and then we make the thought that there is a current of purity coming down, pouring down from the source above, which is entering our system from the front. It is entering our heart, filling our heart, and flowing throughout the system, carrying away any remaining complexities and impurities. We make a suggestion that we have now returned to a simpler, purer, more balanced state. And this current has permeated into every cell of my body, which is now emanating this energy of simplicity, lightness, and purity. And that is the end point. And then we gently open our eyes. So let us watch the video. And after that, we will do it ourselves.
Cleaning is done in the evening after the end of a day's work. Cleaning is done in the evening after the end of a day's work. You are mentally cleaning complexities and impurities from your system. Sit comfortably, gently close your eyes and relax. Bring attention to your back, from top of the head down to the tailbone. Imagine all complexities and impurities are going out of the whole system in the form of smoke. The smoke is oozing out from the entire back. Do not dwell on specific events or things to get rid of. Simply brush them off. Gently accelerate the process with faith and confidence. Apply your willpower as needed. Continue with the process for about 20 minutes. As the impressions leave, you will feel lighter and lighter, creating a vacuum in the heart. A sacred current from the divine source descends to your heart to fill the space. The sacred current is helping you remove the impressions. When complexities and impurities are gone, you're feeling simple, you're feeling pure. The sacred current is entering every cell, every corner of your body. The whole body is feeling sacred. Your whole body is now completely purified.
Let us now sit for the experiential session. Request you all to put your phones on the silent mode. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Bring your attention to your back, all the way from the top of your head, along the back of your head, neck, down the entire expanse of your back until the base of your spine. With confidence, courage, and resolution, make the thought that you will now be cleaning out of your system all the impurities and complexities you have accumulated during the day, enabling them to leave you from the back in the form of smoke or vapor, whichever comes spontaneously to you, either smoke or vapor. Feel the smoke leaving you from the back. Visualize it if necessary. Unlike meditation, which is a passive process, cleaning is a very active process in which we use our thought energy, backed by the energy of our willpower. We use our mind to clean our mind. To not dwell on specific memories, thoughts, emotions, events, or people. Let them all leave. Totally. Let it be a total generalized cleaning of your system. Like a vacuum cleaner suctioning off all the particles on the floor, paper strips, dried leaves, dust, food particles, everything is sucked off. Let this also be a generalized, comprehensive cleaning of the system. Let all the impurities and complexities leave en masse. If your mind wanders, bring it back to continue with the cleaning. Paying attention to any of the negative thoughts, the impurities or complexities, only strengthens them and deepens them with added energy. So we do not pay attention to any of them specifically. We just brush them off from the back. All impurities and complexities are leaving your system from the back in the form of smoke or vapor. All the way from the top of your head, along the back of your head, neck, down the entire expanse of your back, up to the tip of your spine. Stay alert and aware. Feel the smoke leaving you, carrying away all the impurities and complexities, the negativity, all your fears, desires, angers, lusts, panics, jealousies, hatred, despair. Let them all leave together. If your mind wanders, remind yourself that you are doing the cleaning and firmly bring it back to continue with the cleaning. Now use your willpower to make the process more brisk. Feel the smoke leaving you from all along your back, faster and faster. Greater intensity. Thicker and thicker. And from deeper and deeper layers of your system. Continue using your willpower. Stay alert, aware, and stay focused. As more and more of the impurities and complexities continue to leave your system. Feel the emptiness, the lightness that is developing in the region of your heart. Feel this lightness growing. Be aware of the smoke leaving you from the back more and more vigorously, and from deeper and deeper parts of your system. Be aware of this lightness that is increasing in the region of your heart. Now make the thought that light pouring down from the source, the ultimate source above, is entering your system from the front, entering your heart, filling it up, and also helping to push out the impurities from the back. Feel this light continue to pour. Feel it filling your heart and flowing further to fill all parts of your body. Feel it spreading upwards, filling your head and neck. Feel it filling both your upper limbs. Flowing down, filling your abdomen. Filling both your lower limbs. Feel this light filling every nook and corner of your system. Feel it permeating into every cell, every particle. Pushing away all the negativities, the impurities, and complexities on the back. Continue for some time. Staying aware and focused. Using your willpower. If your mind wanders, firmly bring it back. Continue with the cleaning. Since cleaning is done at the end of the day, around sunset, the relaxation produced with the cleaning may tend to send you to sleep or into meditation. Try to stay alert. If you do fall asleep or slip off into meditation, it doesn't matter. When you wake up, continue with the cleaning until it is completed. Continue actively with your cleaning. Stay focused using your willpower until the end point is reached, until you feel it is completed. The end point of cleaning is reached when all the impurities and complexities have left your system and there is no more smoke coming out from the back. Because all the impurities have gone, you are beginning to feel pure. Because all the complexities have gone, you are beginning to feel simple. Because the weight, the burden of all the negativities is gone. You are feeling light, buoyant, filled with the light from the source above. You feel like a ball of light, radiating your light into the surroundings. You feel full of energy, full of joy, full of love. Hope and gratitude. Feel this energy radiating from you into your surroundings. Let us now sit for a few minutes of meditation. The process of heartfulness meditation is very simple. Just make a thought that there is a source of light deep within your heart, drawing your attention. Meditation is passive, so do not focus or concentrate, just a subtle thought. If your mind floods with thoughts, try and ignore them, like clouds passing in the sky, or like unwelcome hawkers and beggars at the door. If you find your attention wandering, gently bring it back to the thought of light deep within your heart. Do this as often as required, any number of times. But keep your eyes closed until further instructions. Relax, let go. Please start meditation. That's all. Keep your eyes closed. Observe your inner condition. Make a mental note of how you are feeling. Of your inner condition as it evolved from before the session in the afternoon to now after this short cleaning and meditation. Make a resolve to hold on to this inner condition as you go through the rest of the day. So we have a mnemonic AEIOU to help us hold on to this condition. So A is for acquiring. We have already acquired a new condition, a new vibratory level, which no money can buy. So we have acquired the condition. E, enjoy it, experience it, enlarge it, enhance it, enliven it. So continue paying gentle, loving attention, staying connected to this condition, and feel it being imbibed into every part of your system, every cell, every particle, so that you become one with this condition. O is for becoming one with that condition, so that now that condition begins to operate through your daily activities. U is for union. As you attain union with this condition, feel how you feel just a little bit closer to that version final of yours. How you feel a little bit closer to that perfect version of yourself that is there deep within you. Gently open your eyes. If you have any questions, we can take the questions, yes.
Madam, it was a nice session.
Yes.
I was speaking 1 hour back with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, will the genetic or the environmental plays a most important part in the perinatal period?
Maybe discuss that a little later. Yes, the genetics plays an important role throughout. And yes, in the first 1,000 days, yes. And the technique that we did now, very important technique that helps to clean out the negativities from our epigenetics and infuse the positivities. So I'd just like to show you on the next slide. Just a minute. Yeah, I'm not able to move my slide. Yes. So all these negativities here, we have shown only fear, fear, anger, greed, jealousy, hatred, all the negativities without our paying attention to them individually. It doesn't matter what the negativities within me are, the complexities. I have years and years of, conditioned thought and reflex patterns of thought and behavior that have got embedded deep into my system. With continuous cleaning, slowly they dissolve, whether it is fear, anger, lust, greed, hatred, jealousy. It doesn't matter what that specific thing we are suffering from is. Slowly you will notice that you feel more and more relieved of that. Augment the cleaning with the meditation and see how you feel filled with positive effects. The vibration of love is one of the highest vibrations, and coupled with the pranahuti, that the transmission that Dr. Suresh spoke about yesterday, which is a unique feature of heartfulness meditation. Pranahuti or transmission and this cleaning technique are the two special features of the heartfulness meditation, which make it so effective. So many people find they get absorbed even in the first few days, whereas in other forms, it takes time, it takes hours, days of meditation to reach that vibratory level. So we are living at survival. My existence, my survival is at stake. That is what stress is about. So we move from stress. See, stress, a little amount is good for functioning, but we need to get out of that continued prolonged stress, which leads to distress, which affects our nervous system, which affects our endocrine system, our immune system, and finally affects our different organs. It affects our physiology, our biochemistry, it affects the energy patterns, the functioning of our organs. And it has been mapped out, if you have the energy of fear, you are prone to a certain type of disease. You have lived for years with the energy of anger and resentment, there are certain disease patterns and so on. That's a different field of altogether. So yes, to cut a long story short, cleaning helps the epigenetics. I request so the answer to your question is yes. Cleaning alters the epigenetics to a very, very positive level. Bye. So for some reason, I'm not able to move my slides forward. Any other questions or remarks, thoughts that anyone would like to share?